There's a name upon a page. My eyes are brown. I live in town, and I love the second grade. My little world's turned upside down, and I'm lost inside a maze of men in robes and foster homes. Can you help me find my way? Speak for me. I have no voice. Speak for me. I have no choice. I'm counting on you to carry me through. I'm feeling so lost and all alone. When you speak for me, you give me hope that I'll have the chance to live, to grow, and I will become what I was born to be when you speak for me. You wonder how I run and play when I'm old beyond my years. Unspeakable things these eyes have seen are hidden in my tears. But when I look into your heart, I think I see a friend. Your smile is kind, but I'm still scared. So I'm holding out my hand. Speak for me. I have no voice. Speak for me. I have no choice. I'm counting on you to carry me through. I'm feeling so lost and all alone. When you speak for me, you give me hope that I'll have a chance to live, to grow, and I will become what I was born to be when you speak for me. There are children like me everywhere, faceless names upon a page. But because you took the time to care, my life's forever changed. You speak for me, now I have a voice. You speak for me, now I have a choice. I counted on you, you carried me through. I'm no longer lost and all alone. When you speak for me, you give me hope that I'll have the chance to live, to grow, and I will become what I was born to be when you speak for me. And I will become what I was born to be when you speak for me.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening for CASA's 32nd annual celebration. Yep, we're virtual again, unfortunately. But we are delighted to have you here and to be able to share some of the amazing highlights of this last year. I'd like to start by introducing the co-chairs of our CASA Board of Directors, Amy Cavino and David Eby. As the CEO of CASA, I can't begin to tell you what their leadership and commitment has been like, what it's meant to this organization, to our board, to our staff, to our advocates during one of the most difficult years ever. So thank you to Amy and David, and I'm going to turn it over to them.
Hi everybody, my name is Amy Cavino. I'm the co-chair of the Board of Directors for CASA New Hampshire. I've been volunteering as a board member with this organization for the past 10 years or so. I'm here today as sort of a video postcard of appreciation and gratitude to all of you for sticking by us through this long, strange year of the pandemic. We think we're through it now. I'm inside a building, not wearing a mask, with other people actually in the room with me, but we are still doing this via video. We want to start this thank you with our advocates. My word, how impressive are you to pivot on a dime in the throes of that pandemic, to find ways to connect with your CASA kids, whether it's a drive-by of the house and a wave through the window or the dreaded Zoom call. You never relented. You never gave up on New Hampshire's abused and neglected children. And it shows, your commitment shows, and at every board meeting, we celebrate you and talk about you and are so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Also, we need to take time in this message to thank our board of directors, who also proved that they could pivot and figure out the technicals of a Zoom call and how to mute and not mute and put themselves on camera and off camera. Thank you for being engaged with us. Thank you for finding ways to connect with our donors. It was a terrifying time there to watch our fundraisers fall away and to figure out how we were going to continue our role as fundraisers for this organization when we couldn't connect with the people who support the organization. But we did it, didn't we? And that brings me to our donors. We did it because of our donors who never let off the gas, who stood up on New Hampshire Gives and gave more than ever, and who just said, we are not going to give up on New Hampshire's abused and neglected children either. We know this is a tough time. Really, a scarier time than any year before. We didn't know what was happening to New Hampshire's kids because they weren't showing up at school. They were behind closed doors, and we were having to find ways to reach them and connect with them and hope that things were going okay for them in their home settings. And donors, we just could not do it without you. We celebrate you. Sometimes we cry with gratitude at our meetings. We can't get over the generosity that you show this organization time and again. Also need to take a moment to thank our advisory council. This was an outgoing board member several years ago who encouraged us to set this up, to keep our arms around the board members who are rolling off and going on to do new adventures and new commitments, and say, don't leave us, stay by us. We want to tap into your talents and tap into your network for perpetuity. And boy, they have stood by us and offered us terrific ideas to keep this organization vibrant and on the pulse of this community here in New Hampshire. So we thank you all so much. We are sending you love and gratitude, and the message that we want you to know that CASA New Hampshire is going nowhere. We are right here for New Hampshire's abused and neglected children, but we couldn't do it without you. Thank you for a great year. We are looking ahead to the next year with a little trepidation. Things aren't really quite back to normal. We're not really sure how those fundraisers are going to go. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for staying by us. And let's go forward together for New Hampshire's kids.
Good evening. My name is David Eby. I serve with Amy Cavino as co-chair of the Board of Directors for CASA. Thank you for joining us tonight as we celebrate our CASA volunteers, our donors, our staff, and all that make CASA such the great organization it is. It's been a tough year, and the pandemic has been tough on all of us. It brought challenges that we were able to overcome, however, and our advocates and our staff have worked tirelessly to serve our CASA kids. I wanted to share with you a few of the highlights over the past year. We had 614 CASA advocates, serving over 1,400 CASA kids. Our volunteers worked 86,000 volunteer hours, and they traveled, get this, close to 360,000 miles. Our primary goal at CASA is to ensure that our CASA kids have safe, forever homes. To that end, 191 kids were reunited with their families. We also had 115 kids who were adopted into their new forever homes. We had 125 new CASA advocates last year. Our online recruitment and training schedule was a success, and we hope to continue that moving forward. We had 35 virtual information sessions in our effort to spread the word about CASA and our mission. Looking forward to next year, we hope to have 250 new CASA advocates that we can recruit and train. This is in line with our goal of securing a CASA advocate for every single CASA kid that needs one. Our board is strong. We are made up of individuals who are willing to roll up their sleeves and get the work done. We will, as advocates of the organization, continue to spread the word and spread the word about the mission of CASA. We will work with Marty to support her and her team in the way she needs us. We will start our in-person fundraising sessions as soon as we can, we promise. We have a lot of work to do, and our CASA kids need us, perhaps now more than ever. So with your help, I'm sure we can have another strong year. Thank you for all you do for CASA. Thank you for being here, and I hope you have a great night.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Congressman Chris Pappas, and I wanted to send my best wishes to everyone at CASA of New Hampshire as you celebrate your achievements over the past year. Through the hard work and generosity of advocates, supporters, and friends, your organization has helped transform the lives of more than 1,400 children in our state this year alone. And for that, we owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude. I'd also like to congratulate all of the volunteers who are being recognized tonight for their extraordinary service. Whether you're celebrating 5 years of service or 25, your work has had a tremendous impact on the lives of children who face tough odds and difficult circumstances throughout our state. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the lives of children in our state have changed dramatically. Many of our kids found their lives upended while facing difficult and changing situations at home. In these cases, the support of CASA volunteers has been vital for each of these kids. Your work helps ensure that there are safe environments that are filled with compassion and empathy where these children have a chance to thrive. So congratulations on a successful year during these extraordinary times, and I look forward to working with you all closely in the years to come. Thank you so much for all that you do, and please stay safe.
We can achieve it. I believe. I believe. I believe. I believe. We can achieve it. I believe. I believe.
So now, folks, we have the opportunity to introduce three major awards that will be given this evening. One is our John McDermott Champion of Children Awards to someone who has provided extraordinary leadership and support to children and families throughout the state. Additionally, we are celebrating our community partner, and this award is given to someone typically outside of the CASA family that has supported us financially and through just general awareness and advocacy, ambassadorship to the organization. But first, we're going to be introducing the Linda Egbert Outstanding Advocacy Award. This is given to one of our CASA volunteers every year who has just provided extraordinary advocacy on behalf of a child or a group of children. This is a hard award to give because there are hundreds of CASA volunteers doing this work every day. But to present that award, I'd like to invite Shiloh Rimillard, our North Country Program Manager. Shiloh?
Thank you, Marty. Mark Lenahan is a committed, kind, hardworking, dedicated advocate and an all-around amazing person. He has been an advocate for 9 years, and in that time, he's helped 12 families and a whopping 31 children. Mark has an incredible way of building relationships with each child that he works with. He works well with all ages, but I would say his specialty is teenagers. He treats them like people and listens to what they have to say. He advocates for their best interests and ensures that their voices are heard in court. Mark is someone who I'm very honored to work with, and for these reasons, I'd like to present to you the Linda Egbert Advocacy Award.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm really honored and humbled with this award. I became a CASA because I wanted to do something meaningful that I would have a direct impact on the results. I looked at a lot of different organizations, and in the past, in another life, I belonged to other service organizations, which were all great organizations. But CASA really appealed to me. I heard the television advertisements, and what I liked about CASA is the fact that, like I said, the things that we do have a direct impact on somebody else's, on the kids' lives. So then I became a CASA, and I went through the interview process, which really wasn't that easy. I'm surprised they even took me, but that's another story altogether. The longer I'm a CASA, the more I realize how these little things that we do for the kids are so important. Some of the things we do that are important to the kids is we advocate for them in court, which is extremely important, and the judges really listen to what we have to say. We bring a non-judgment We bring a non-judgmental approach to the kids. We're the people. We don't have to tell the kids they're doing something wrong. We're the people that listen to them and listen to their stories. And we're the ones that, on the weekends, after 4:30 at night, and on the weekends, when the kids are frustrated and they need somebody to call, they can call the CASA. And we answer the phone, which I think is very, very important to the kids when they're frustrated. Just somebody that they can talk to and listen to is important. We advocate for the kids at school, at IEP meetings, to make sure they get the educational help that they need. Where lots of times they're all teachers and special ed people, and we're the only lay person there. But I think we know inherently what's good for the kids, and when the kids need something, we're not afraid to speak up for them. We celebrate their birthdays with them, and there's so many great CASAs doing an absolutely phenomenal job. I'm really humbled to get this award. I know in the North Country we have such great CASAs that work independently and do all kinds of things for kids, that these CASAs never get any recognition. To my fellow CASAs, especially the new CASAs, I don't want you to ever underestimate the things you do for the kids and how the kids appreciate it. I'm going to give you two examples. One of them is a little birthday celebration I helped orchestrate, and brought a cake down for one of the children in a residential setting that I see the kids at. And him and his siblings sat down, and we had a nice little birthday celebration. Later on that month, I found out that he had told a relative that was the first birthday cake that he ever remembered getting. Another situation where about 8 years ago, CASA came up with, somebody gave CASA a bunch of stuffed animals. And so we gave them to our children at Christmas time. Unfortunately, the 8-year-old girl that I gave it to, she was eventually reunified with her mother, and unfortunately her mother died in an accident in front of their home. So a new case was initiated, and I became her CASA. That was 4 or 5 years later, when she was 12 years old. And then she told me she came down to see me from her residential place into a meeting room at the residential facility, and said she brought along this stuffed animal. And I didn't have any idea what it was all about, but it was 4 years or 5 years previous. And she said, "You gave me this stuffed animal 4 or 5 years ago when I first met you." She said, "I take this stuffed animal everywhere." So this is something that, these little things that we do for the kids, they really, really appreciate. At this time, I'd like to thank Marty Sink for bringing CASA to New Hampshire. I think that's extremely important. I'd also like to thank the support I get from Shiloh and my previous program managers, which were Joy Nolan, Jerry Lawson, Jessica Story, and right now Amy Jenkins also. I also want to thank the board of directors and all the donors for CASA, because this is really a team effort. It takes money to support the volunteers that are in the workforce, that are out there working for the kids. I also want to thank my wife supporting me, my wife Mary, who supports me in all the CASA work that I do, and the after-hours calls that I sometimes get, and some of the traveling that I have to do being a CASA in the North Country. Thank you very much.
And now I have the privilege of introducing the next award, our Community Partner Award. And I'm really delighted to be able to honor and recognize an amazing individual who has supported us in so many ways, financially, as an ambassador for the organization, and keeping CASA close to his heart. Tom Boucher president of Great New Hampshire Restaurants, is this year's community partner.
I just want to say thanks to Marty and the entire CASA team for this award. And it's really on behalf of myself and, of course, the entire Great New Hampshire Restaurants team and our nonprofit Great New Hampshire Restaurants Charitable Trust, which is feednh.org. We've been big supporters of CASA over the years, and I'm just very proud to take this award on behalf of both organizations. And I just want to take a moment to explain how I got exposed to CASA. It was a night that I got invited to attend one of the fundraisers that they do, and I didn't really know much about CASA at the time. And I remember being at that ceremony, and I forget who was presenting. I wish I could remember, but whoever presented just made such an impression on me that it just stuck with me. And it was something that I became more and more interested in. And over the past few years, as I mentioned, our nonprofit has given to the organization, but I then took a position on the advisory council and learned even more about what it means to be a CASA advocate. And when I read the numbers from 2020 and see that CASA has helped over 600 children, 1,400 children have been helped through over 600 advocates that have helped these kids that are living in conditions that I've never had to deal with. And maybe that's part of the reason why I got involved, is that these kids just have no representation whatsoever because their guardian or their parents basically are not there for them and were abusive to them in some level. And so that just really touched me and is the reason why I wanted to get more involved. In fact, if it wasn't for the pandemic, and I planned to become an advocate and be trained to become an advocate, that was my plan in 2020. But moving forward, I truly hope to become an advocate for these children because, as I mentioned, they need representation. And so my hat's off to the volunteers, the over 600 volunteers that help these kids navigate a place that I hope no child ever has to navigate. So thank you again for this award. I really appreciate it, and I hope that our organizations can continue to help in the ways that we have moving forward. Thanks again.
And now I have the opportunity to present the John McDermott Champion of Children Award. This award was named after an individual who was a true fan of CASA, but in his own right supported children and families for years in his professional roles with the Nashua Police Department and the Juvenile Division, and then with the state of New Hampshire, and on and on and on. So this award this year is given to a special individual who really, truly epitomizes what John's life stood for and the work that he did. And it is being presented to Lou Catano. Lou Catano served nearly 40 years as the executive director of the Webster House in Manchester. Lou, it doesn't get a stronger or a more fine advocate than someone like Lou Catano, who really is there with these kids day in and day out. And his mark has been left on the state. And even though he's retired, which is well-deserved, Lou's advocacy will continue for generations to come. And now, welcome Lou Catano.
Thank you, Marty. To receive an award such as this from such an esteemed organization as CASA, from CASA, it was mind-blowing when I heard the news. I've had nothing but respect for CASA for the decades that I've known and worked hand in hand with CASA advocates as my role as the executive director at Webster House. I've had the pleasure of sitting in numerous treatment plan meetings and other planning meetings with the whole team, and it was always great to know that there was a CASA worker in the room. CASA is one of the premier human service agencies in the state of New Hampshire, and to be recognized by them, I'm kind of speechless. So thank you, Marty. This has been a true punctuation at the end of my career. I've worked at Webster House since 1984, and I don't think there's been many a times where we haven't had kids that had not been placed there who did not have CASA workers. We've had great working relationships. They've always been professional. I've enjoyed having their opinion because the more people that sat at the table, and especially someone that had just a total separate, non-DCYF, non-residential, just a separate perspective, and that was kids' best interest, 110%. So that's been a real plus to have that relationship going, and I'm thrilled to know that this organization continues on in its advocacy for children. I'd hate to think what the results would be right now without having CASA workers out there every day doing what they do and doing what they do quite well. It's kind of fitting. I received this after just retiring from my career at Webster House. I have nothing but respect for CASA, because I think CASA is the same kind of organization as we were at the home, where it's not a job, it's a mission. This isn't a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4 kind of a job. It's the kind of a job that gets under your skin, and it's so easy to fall head over heels into advocating for the kids. These kids have already been shortchanged as it is, and everybody on the team continues to work and give above and beyond to try to make that difference. And I do believe strongly that the differences have been made. I've seen the results year in and year out. I think, I did some thinking after I got this notice about the award, and one of the things that came up was you have to listen before you can speak. And okay, what's he talking about? Well, I think this goes to the CASA workers that I've had some great relationships. We actually have a CASA worker on our board of directors at Webster House right now. But what I mean about listening, the CASA workers had to hear that voice out there talking to them, that child's voice that was saying, help me, I need some help, I need some support. They listened, and then they took the action to make it work, to be that voice for the child in the court. And I think that's a great job description for what they do. They listened, and then they speak. And they hit home runs. It's not easy, but they do it. And like I said, I was thrilled to get this this award, because this is an organization that I hold in very high esteem. I've had the joy, and I will say that kind of tongue-in-cheek sometimes, about seeing behind the curtain with some of the organizations I've had to work with, and I've always had full view of what I see here, and I love what I see here. And I loved working with the CASA workers that joined us for numerous cases over the course of our time. And I feel confident that going forward, the system is under dire stress right now, but with CASA workers in place and the job that Marty does and everybody as a team moving forward, I feel confident that the kids are going to get a good deal and then some. I will tell you, it's an honor to be recognized for my service, and I say that, but I know that I'm taking it for the team, because Webster House exists because of a great board of directors, a community that supports it. I wish we didn't have to be in place, but we are in place, and we'll be in place because of just what happens in society. But the employees there, phenomenal place. And I think Marty and company knew the job that we did and respected what our mission was, and I think that's why we work so well together. It's been a great job for myself. I've had, I do have to say, getting this award, I will have to bring it home and share it with my wife and 2 daughters, because For the 36 years I've lived there, I would often get comments about my other family because I was always away. Long hours, but they knew and understood and respected and freely welcomed kids into our home every Christmas, every holiday. But I thank them for the patience and understanding and allowing me to do my job, because I couldn't have done it alone if I had to go back and I wasn't being supported at home. So thank you, Pat, Rachel, and Lauren for allowing me to spend the last 36 years doing what I did and enjoyed. And yes, I have some gray hair because of it, but well worth it. I don't know what else to say. But thank you.
So thank you to all three of our award winners. Such well-deserved highlights of your extraordinary work as you have made the commitment to CASA and New Hampshire's children. Right now, we'd like to have a brief tribute to honor an extraordinary man, Judge Bud Martin, who passed away this year, but who had spent his life as a true advocate for New Hampshire's children and families. First, his many years on the family court bench in Laconia, and then his many years of service as a CASA volunteer. I remember when Judge Martin was still on the bench, he told me one day, you know, Marty, when I retire, I'm gonna be a CASA volunteer. And I just kind of chuckled and said, yeah, Your Honor, sure. But in fact, I believe he was just wrapping up his retirement party when he, in fact, submitted an application to become a CASA. His footprint and his handprint will be felt for many years on many children throughout the state, generations of children. And we're just really delighted to share a few brief comments in this tribute.
We in New Hampshire and here at CASA lost an ardent supporter of children and youth in April. Bud Martin was a CASA for 10 years, and in that time advocated for 6 boys. 3 of those cases were really quite long, 2 almost 3 years and 1 almost 5.
He was a good guy, Harvard educated, but never came across as superior in any way.
He was an advocate for kids his entire life, first from the bench for 35 years, and then as a CASA GAL and in other roles, but really importantly as a CASA GAL, putting in the time, the visits, and speaking to the court really clearly about some very complicated needs that the system, our system, was trying to meet for these young people that he was understanding well in a really wider sense than I think a lot of people could have done.
If I were a child, an abused and neglected child, and I was going to have a CASA advocate assigned to me, what better than to get a retired family court judge, a lawyer, a guy with a huge sense of compassion and empathy, both for the children and family. A kid would win the lottery by having Bud as their advocate.
When Bud was in a room at a team meeting or in the courtroom, he has this great shock of white hair and always this beautiful floral tie and this glimmer, this twinkle in his eye and a kind of smile, which really belied the depth of his understanding of what was going on for the child or youth in the case, as well as for all the other players. And it belied his determination to see a decent outcome, no matter how outside the box he needed to think for that to happen. But of course, child protection is part of what he was responsible for as a judge, and he found great value and benefit when CASAs were added to the mix. And as a result of
the benefit they brought to him as a judge when he was no longer sitting as a judge. He was real pleased to be able to continue his advocacy for children and youth by becoming a CASA guardian ad litem.
CASAs will miss him, the organization's going to miss him. I would say the whole state will miss him because of his advocacy for the whole issue of abused and neglected kids and how we remedy that.
We will all miss Judge and GAL, Bud Martin. He was a blessing for New Hampshire and for our kids and youth. His twinkling smile, his kind heart. We will miss him.
Thank you, Jess and Bob, for those wonderful thoughts and heartfelt remembrances. Judge Martin was truly a remarkable man. And now we've come to the end of our time together. I want to thank you for joining us. This virtual event, hopefully next year, will not be virtual at all. We will all be together in living color, live. Lots of hugs going on, I'm sure. But thank you for being here. And we have a very, very special closing to tonight's event celebration. We have 2 CASA children who are going to share some of their thoughts about the advocacy that their CASAs provided for them. So thank you, God bless, and we'll see you all soon.
Good evening. I wanted to be able to give thanks to CASA of New Hampshire and share my story of how I've been able to get where I am thanks to my CASAs. I came into foster care in 2018 and I was assigned my first CASA, and she really took me under her wing. She showed me that it was okay to be scared. She showed me that it was okay to not be okay. She told me it was okay to cry. But she also taught me how to be strong even when I was at my lowest. She would walk me into the courtroom and we had our inside jokes that got us through, and I always felt safe when I was with her. She taught me that having a voice is really important, and being scared is important too. Not saying that you're fine when you're not is not going to get you anywhere. She just really opened her heart and opened her mind and brought me a lot of personal lived experience that got me through some of my, living experience that I suffered from. She ended up leaving CASA about 1.5 years ago, and before she left, she knew how important it was for me to have connections and have people, something I unfortunately didn't have ever growing up. And before she left, she made it very clear to DCYF that she wanted to stay in my life. She informed CASA that she was going to be leaving, but she also informed them that she wasn't ready to give me up as a client yet. And she's now my primary caring adult. But she's a lot more than that. She turned into a mentor, a supporter, a part of that family that I never really got. And she just adds strength to my life. And after she left, I was assigned another CASA who I have currently in my life, and she taught me a different side. She was within me, in my life for a different level. My first CASA was in my life when I was, starting to become established and starting to flourish as a person. And my second CASA really got me when I was blooming. My first CASA got me to that seedling, and my second CASA kind of got to witness the bloom of it. She supported me, she's been kind, she has truly been a friend. She's been one of my closest friends. Never doubted me, never judged me. And she's given me a friend outside of foster care. Even after I aged out, she made it a point to say, she gave me the choice to keep her in my life or to say bye. But she showed me that initial compassion that I'd never felt before, and I knew that I wanted her in my life after the fact. So at 18, I have both of my first CASAs in my life at different parts of my life. They've shown me resilience and growth, gratitude, forgiveness. They've showed compassion in action countless times. And they've really been a big part of my healing. So with that, I thank CASA for giving me the opportunity to have some wonderful people in my life. And I'm not saying it was perfect. I'm not saying I smiled at my CASAs every day. I'm not saying I didn't have my good days and bad days. But when I say that at the end of my bad days, I always knew that I had someone who wasn't there to hurt me. And that was one of the biggest, most impactful things I think CASA of New Hampshire has helped me with. So I thank you, CASA, and I thank my CASAs, Laurel and Cotton, for everything you guys do and continue to do.
Hi, my name's Audrey Hardy. I'm making this video for Marty Cloran, someone that I met about 4 years ago when my brother, sister, and I were taken away from our mom due to an alcohol addiction, and he was assigned to our case as a CASA member. I actually wrote a letter, and I wanted to read it because it pretty much just perfectly describes how wonderful of a person he is. So, when Marty came into our lives, it was just another person. My siblings and I had grown used to seeing different people coming in and out of our homes to talk to us about our mom's addiction and telling us things that we already knew. I specifically didn't really want to give anyone else the time of day, but when we met Marty and he introduced himself, I knew it wasn't just another job. I knew his heart was pure. Marty never asked hard questions. He never expected us to open up to him. He just wanted us to know that he was there, even if it meant sitting in silence. His presence never made us anxious. It never gave us bad vibes, as my almost 18-year-old brother likes to say. He would compliment something as simple as my plain white shoelaces or a painting I made when I was in 4th grade that hung on the wall. It wasn't about trying to win me over or trying to get me to trust him. It was to making a point to show me that he noticed. He noticed everything, all the little things that nobody else did or cared to even point out. When we grew more and more comfortable with Marty, he listened. He really, really listened to anything that we had to say. My brother mentioned something very important that became key to our relationship with Marty. He never brought up the obvious, our mom's addiction. He never asked questions or tried to find out information. He never drilled us with questions about our lives. He just wanted to be there, to talk to us about school, sports, or anything other than what we were so sick of talking about. When we were taken, we were all scared. There was actually never a point I had hope for my future. Marty gave me hope. Marty knocked our walls down and showed up for us. His kindness, his soul, everything about him is so special. It's been over 4 years now since I first met Marty. I was a 17-year-old in high school. I always thought I was too good for everyone. I never thought that someone that works for CASA, DCYF, or any other party involved in our case would touch my heart like Marty did. I'm now almost 21, and Marty still gives me calls just to ask how I'm doing. He lets me rant about my dog and how I love being a dog mom, or how I love living on my own and being an adult. He's never showed any judgment to our situation, and he's always just been there to talk to. And sometimes that can really change a kid's life. Marty Cloran, you're charismatic, kind, full of so much devotion and compassion to what you do, and it's an honor to have met you. Thank you for everything you have done for my brother, sister, and I truly have never met anyone more deserving than Marty Cloran. Kindest man I've ever met, and he deserves more than I think anybody could ever give him, so thank you very much for this opportunity.